Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy Independence Day, 4th of July. First of all, I have to remember to welcome the people who are watching us on YouTube and Facebook, though you're not on the screen right now. I know you're watching this afternoon and throughout the week. And we do get all your compliments, your comments too, your suggestions, and we get your tithes and gifts, so we're most appreciative for everything. Many of your suggestions we're starting to implement, and so thank you all for being here. Happy 4th of July. I don't know what our attendance is today, since I know a lot of people are traveling. I'm told the airports are tied up, so some of you are probably on flight or in flight. So again, welcome to all of you on Facebook too. Any of our broadcasts can be reviewed on Facebook an hour or two after we deliver them. And we meet on Thursday nights for our self-healing class, which is a Louise based class, and Wednesdays for our creative living class, which is hosted by different people, predominantly Jimmy. So today's talk is about the idea of freedom, naturally, and independence. So here we go. Since the beginning of time, since the dawn of human existence, there's been an unwavering and primal yearning embedded in every soul that has ever lived. From the moment consciousness stirred within each and every one of us, whether we know it or not, we've sought to live, create, and breathe life into the canvas of existence. So we have this primal urge to breathe life, to create, and to be free. You may not know it that way, but it's true. This age-old desire for freedom, this inner desire, transcends everything. It transcends the boundaries of time. It transcends the centuries that humankind has been on the planet, the cultures that have come and gone, the civilizations too. It's always burning within the human spirit, and it has been throughout history, the history of people and civilizations, many of which have come and gone. As we start our lesson today, it's important to acknowledge that most people resist being told what to do or what to think, because there's something within you that knows. We talk often about it. There is that which is within you that knows. You don't need to be told very much, because you're one with the one. You are an individualization of this one spirit. And it isn't anything that needs to be directed, because it's always there. If you live, as Holmes talked about, if you're living the affirmative life, you're living in close contact with this indwelling presence. And this presence will always be making suggestions to you. So most of us resist being told what to do or what to think because we have an inner knowing, and we're here to go our own way. We've learned from great teachers. I think of Louise now because we present her material every week. And she would say, rather than telling anybody what to do, if you have to do anything, make suggestions rather than tell them what to do. And stop making judgments about what anyone's doing, really about what they're saying. Because one thing about freedom and being in a country like this, I don't have to agree with anybody, but I would fight and argue for your right to say what you want to say, because this is a land where freedom operates. I would never want to shut down another person's point of view. And, that's what makes us great, is because we can express and we can still love one another. So we're always wanting to allow individuals freedom and to choose their own path in terms of what they do, who they love, what they enjoy. That's one of the great beauties of living in this country. And we want people to make their own discoveries and also make their own mistakes. Again, we don't need to tell people. There is that which is within each of them and all of us that knows. There is power for good in operation all the time. And furthermore, the great thing is that it is at your disposal. So it's up to you how you use it. And you're going to use it either constructively or destructively. Those of you who are in the teaching, you know that you have this power. We tell you every week, probably 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 times, there's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you're a part. And it responds to you. So you can use it constructively. If you learn how to harness your thoughts and your emotions, there's no stopping you. If we're living in reaction to everything anyone says and we're just doing tit for tat, and that's more reacting, that's more primal. It's just what's done in, like I'll say, the forest. But mankind, humankind is better than this in that we get to choose, we get to stop that whole action and reaction. We can always be still. By that I mean we can always be still and know that we are gods, know that we are individualizations of Source, and we can see peace instead of anything. I don't have to give my power away. I'm free to listen to you. I don't have to agree. I'm free to listen without being offended. I'm free not to take anything personally. These are lines and teachings from many great books. I'm sure many of you know what I'm referring to in all these books. But I can refuse to be offended, and furthermore, I can celebrate your ability to have your opinions. And this is what makes the tapestry of this country great. So we have power. We're using it all the time. So with this great, and this is a great thing to realize. I probably should emphasize it some more. You sit there and you walk through your life, and many people are complaining. They're complaining about everything. And they're complaining and, thinking they're not good enough, their opinions about everything, and all this negative type of thought, and especially if it's backed by emotion, just creates for yourself hell on earth. And it doesn't have to be that way. You're caused your own experience. We say that in so many ways. Louise Hay would say you're 100% responsible for your life. Caused your own experience. We go back to the law of cause and effect. Who's creating your life? Who do you think? If you want to say somebody's done this to you and somebody's doing that to you and you make your whole life about somebody else, Betty Davis would say, what a pity. What a pity. It doesn't have to be that way. You can take the reins of your life and you can create it to be whatever you want it and dream it to be. So freedom and power is inherent in our very nature. It's the best kept secret of life. I've been told that by ministers for over 30 years. And what they're trying to say to me back at Unity in Miami decades ago is God is in you. The best kept secret of the age, God in you, Spirit in you. This power is in you. It's the hope of your glory. It's when you realize that you have the whole thing, you are the whole bit, as Barker so fondly states, then there's no time for complaints. There's no time for excuses. You realize, okay, I'm creating my life. I'm freely creating my life to be a disaster. I'm freely creating my life to be wonderful. It's entirely up to us. And most of us here want to express our lives in terms of greater opportunity and greater freedom. And we want to expand our horizons, and we're always growing. Like it or not, even if you're stubborn, you're still growing because you're learning. You may be in a lot of resistance, but your resistance, as painful as it is, will bring you lessons. So you're still growing. I'd rather grow by surrendering. By that I mean, if you're in resistance, you're going to learn many lessons. But if you can surrender a lot of these things, what I'll call my wants, and try to surrender to more of the ideas of what God is, meaning peace, power, love, joy, beauty, wisdom, if I attempt to do that more and more and assume some of the virtues and be more giving and more forgiving and more loving and more caring toward myself and others, then I'm working with the law, and then I'm going to see wondrous things happen. So the thing for us to know in this teaching is there is this thing within us. Some people call it a flame, an essence, an energy. And it woos us, it beckons us. Emerson said it woos. It woos us to step up, stand up, and cast off the limitations that hold us back. It encourages, again, woos us to open up the door to our dreams and the pathway to our fullest potential. We're so very fortunate to live in a nation that cherishes these sacred freedoms. I'm sickened when I watch the stuff on TV that, it seems like there's a hatred towards the country in a lot of quarters, because we're so very fortunate to have the freedoms where the pursuit of happiness is enshrined as an inalienable right. I was reading when I was preparing for this lesson, I was dealing with artificial intelligence, and I was Googling, of all the countries that exist on the planet that have very few civil rights at all. You could be imprisoned for speaking your mind or your thoughts. There's many places, I don't need to name them, where there are no civil liberties as we know them, few rights. Sometimes we just assume everyone has what we have in the United States, but they don't. A lot of people don't have any of what we have in the United States. And that made me grateful for what we do have in this country, and especially what we have in this teaching, because this teaching really takes it to a whole nother level, because we tell you that you're free to be anything. You're free to create, you're free to think, you're free to hitch your wagon to the stars. There's nothing and no one holding us back. There's unless you have your life working against you, which a lot of people do. If you do, though, you can turn that around too. Starting here, starting now. Barker would say, yesterday ended last night. So you're free to start it all over again. You're free to start any day all over again. And some of you will be thinking, well, this country's far from perfect, and I've listened to people like that, but I'm a religious scientist and I'm a truth student, so I know that we're evolving in perfection. I know each of us are. We've all made mistakes. We're all miracles in progress, and we're all growing and evolving. All of us is. America is too. The idea of our democracy, it's a perfect ideal. See, the thing about what we teach here is all of us are evolving in perfection. There's a saying that we have, which is perfect place, perfect time, and all the time. So life is unfolding. Each of us are what I used to say, evoluting in our own way. I remember all the old songs. Bette Midler had one, From a Distance. I can see what? I can see harmony. And you can see as you look back in your life how far you've come. So we do the work here. We practice. Deepak Chopra, I remember, said, the universe has great organizing power, and it's always unfolding in more and more magnificent ways. I like talking about freedom, especially on 4th of July holidays. This holiday lets us remember that the desire for freedom extends far beyond our borders and our homeland. This desire for freedom is a universal aspiration. It's something that's deep within people. And nobody likes to be shackled. Nobody, again, likes being told what to do. Remember Louise when she says, stop telling people what they should do. Just stop that. She says, just not good. Let people be how they are. We're here as religious scientists to be the champions, the applauders, not the critics. So the universe, in the universe, in all of us, there's a deep longing, and it's shared by every soul that has graced the earth. And as we celebrate the birth of our nation today and this week, we also celebrate the eternal truth that freedom in all of its forms is a precious gift bestowed upon every being. I'll give you a little history. In the year 1776, what happened? A significant transformation took place. The 13 colonies, I always remember, I thought there were 14 because I grew up in Vermont, that was the 14th. The 13 colonies, which had been under British control for quite a while, declared their independence on the 4th of July and drafted the Declaration of Independence. Since then, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of American independence. Independence Day remains an important national holiday. It's filled with all kinds of activities, leisure, family gatherings, sports, and a lot of unity. Today we approach Independence Day and we're reminded of all that we have. We reflect on the great ideals that define this great nation. We look away from we're not criticizing, we're looking at the great ideals that have brought this nation forward to the place where it is now. It's a place where individuals still can think freely, pursue their dreams, speak their mind without reprisal. It's a place where we can embrace life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is not offered everywhere. It's offered here. These ideals resonate deeply within each of us and are part of the New Thought movement. As many of our leaders emerged during or shortly after these transformative times, that's the New Thought movement. So we come together today in celebration. Let us cherish the freedom that we enjoy and hold gratitude in our hearts. May we honor the legacy of those who fought for our independence. And remember that the pursuit of freedom is an ongoing journey. And we're doing it all the time in religious science. As you're working with your consciousness, you're attempting to become more free. Ernest Holmes says we carry around a lot of dead wood. He also called them corpses. And that's all the junk, all the beliefs, it's all the things that we carry unnecessarily. So we pursue freedom. It's an ongoing journey. It's the work that we do. We want to unshackle ourselves from the weight, the load of the stuff that we carry, the hurt and the pain and the anger and the jealousy and the resentment. If you're hanging on to all of that, there's no freedom. Today and every day, let us embrace the power of freedom to inspire others to seek their own liberation. For it's through our freedom that we really learn to thrive. I want to go to Ralph Waldo Emerson a moment, who was a towering figure of his time. He really was the New Thought movement in so many ways for a long time. He left an indelible mark on the whole New Thought movement. He was a staunch advocate of the power of the individual. And that's what we teach. You have within you everything. You have power, you are one with the one. You are an individualization of this energy. You have the ability to create, you have the ability to soar, you have the ability to thrive, you have the ability to heal, you have the ability to create peace and have wonder in your life. So Emerson was all about this, the power that we have individually. If he were alive today, he would undoubtedly encourage you to trust yourself, or trust ourselves. You know, and you know that you know. You don't have to ask people. Just sit with yourself and ask yourself, what's the most self-loving thing I can do right here, right now, with any situation? And you'll always have an answer, because you have access to spirit and energy. So he would probably be encouraging us to turn off the noise of television, your devices. I watch everybody staring into 4-inch pieces of glass now. They bump into each other in the street. I noticed yesterday. I'm walking down the street, so you got all these restaurants built in the street, right? And you have, bike lanes over here. And you got to navigate a smaller amount of space in New York now because of all the stuff that's on the curb. And people are staring into pieces of glasses. I almost walked into 3 different people. I stepped aside each time because I was paying attention. I didn't want to bang into them. So if Emerson were alive today, he'd undoubtedly encourage us to trust ourselves. Turn off the noise of the TV. Just give your devices a break, especially while you're walking down city streets, because you're a danger to yourself and others. So turn off all that noise. And he's suggested we seek different perspectives and different versions of truth. I know some of you out there are so divided. All I would encourage you is listen to all sides of the story. And that's what Emerson was saying too. Educate yourself and then inquire within. Emerson's emphasis on the individual and their relationship with spirit resonates deeply within our teaching. He implores us, here's a famous line, go alone. I remember that from Robert Frost, who was buried in my hometown. Go alone, think for yourself, inquire within, think for ourselves. And to resist the norms imposed upon external influences. Think your own darn thoughts. What do I mean by that? Some people are just repeating the same thoughts that their parents taught them 40, 50 years ago. My goodness, you are a source of God activity. You have the ability to create a world and a new world for you. Why would you want to just keep thinking stuff and be miserable? I learned from the 12-step programs years ago that misery is optional. Okay, well that means just check it out. What's your life like? Are you miserable? If you're miserable, why? Why? If you understand that misery is optional, then think, okay, well, then there's something I must be able to do differently. So think again, go back to the drawing board. You're the author of your own experience. You get to create this wonderful life. You have the power to do it. No one's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to save you. I remember a TV show I liked years ago, probably about 10, and the refrain from the song, I think it was Smallville, I'm just looking for somebody to save me. Well, I'm here to tell you, nobody's going to save anybody. The only way you're going to be saved is by transformation of your own thought, your thinking, and the realization that you are one with power. You have the power. You can do this work. The work isn't that hard. It requires paying attention to what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're believing. So Emerson was saying, go alone. Think for yourselves. Stop being programmed by other people. Stop looking to the right or left for what other people think. Except perhaps just to learn, and then for you to, go into that quiet place within yourself and start making some important decisions for yourself. So resist the norms. You don't have to be a part of groupthink or what the world is saying. Another one who was like that, I remember studying years ago, was Camus. He didn't have kind words for the masses. Camus was telling us to resist all that and learn to think for yourself. So Emerson in his writings would tell us that we have within us direct access to a higher authority. I had a slide for that, but that doesn't matter. We have direct access to a higher authority, a creative intelligence that we can trust. It is this inner intelligence that guides us and leads us. It leads us to a sacred place within ourselves. In a transformative speech given nearly 154 years ago to a graduating class in Boston, it was Harvard, by the way, Emerson established himself as a major voice for the transcendental movement, of which we're a part. His rejection of educational institutions and group thinking in favor of individual thinking and intuitive thought is really what it all boiled down to, along with his recognition of the role of nature in understanding the divine. All of this, when he did it, shocked the mainstream religions and thinking at the time. Emerson's teachings emphasized independence and individual self-reliance, freedom of thought, reliance on self. You have the power to think, to create, to be. It's through our individual connection to source, to energy, to God, that we can perceive the timeless and absolute laws of the soul. Emerson's wisdom guides us to never submit to external opinions, influencers, we'll call them today, or circumstances. We teach, and he taught, oneness. Oneness is such an important word. If you ever get into religious science classes and you think you want to become a minister for some reason, you'll spend a year or so talking about that word. So his wisdom guides us to never submit to external opinions, circumstances. He was teaching that there's one life, one power, the realization, again, that there's one power, one love, one intelligence within each and every one of us. The concepts of goodness and evil are constructs of the human mind. Wish I knew that back when I was in Catholic school. The concepts of goodness and evil are all made up stuff. They're concepts of the human mind, not of God. I remember Alan Cohen's famous line, "Sin stands for self-imposed nonsense." Okay, so the idea of evil and goodness, it's man-made stuff. The rewards or punishments we experience in life are the effects of our consciousness, not the actions of some external force up there with thunderbolts and lightning and killing firstborn and all that stuff. The rewards that we have in life or the punishments we experience are the effects of our consciousness. I'm fond of a minister who used to say, it isn't so much that there's more to do, but there's a lot more to realize. Because we can be real busy doing a whole bunch of stuff. And she used to say, it's not so much that there's so much more to do, but there's a lot more to realize. I'll bring that down to a simple statement. God is all that there is. When you really begin to approach life from a metaphysical angle, where you know that you live, move, and have your being in divine substance, that means every encounter is a holy encounter. That means it's all good, it's all God. You'll start to look at life differently. As we deepen our connection to this indwelling presence, we become more conscious of our inherent power. Our consciousness shapes our experience. Always, 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 nothing else. So if you're tripping, you know what I mean by tripping, that's my generation. You're tripping about this is wrong, that's wrong, everything's wrong, and the whole world's gone to hell in a handbasket. That'd be you tripping. You can be creating a whole type of experience that I don't want to hang out with you if that's what you're doing, because it's just getting too close to me. You don't have to do it that way. You could see peace instead of what? Say everything, anything. So the person who's rooted in negativity and separation will face challenges and limitations based upon their consciousness. Conversely, or opposite, those who are connected to Source and they operate from a greater sense of connection and self-realization will openly be rewarded in every conceivable way. I'll say it again. Those who are connected to Source, who live in connection, who desire to live in connection, awareness of God within, those people who are operating live that way or aspire to live that way are living with a greater sense of self-realization, and they're going to be openly rewarded all the time. The kingdom of God is at hand. Most poor people don't realize it. It's not, says Andy Mame, they're starving, but you don't have to be, because you have within you everything you're ever going to need. So our perception, our way of looking at life will determine our reality. It will determine what we experience. And what may seem like rewards or punishments are actually the effects of our consciousness, which is always playing out. Nothing more, nothing less. So the rewards we receive, the punishments that we think we're experiencing are actually the effects of our own consciousness. Remember, Louise would say, Louise, hey, we're all 100% responsible for our experiences. That's all she's saying there, that the rewards or punishments are actually the effects of our own consciousness playing out. So we want to get a handle on what it is that's going on within us. Every Thursday, I ask a very important question. Nobody realizes how important it is, probably, except me. I always ask, what's it been like being you this week? I'm never trying to get to know your personal business, but I'm always asking that question because I'm wanting you to be thinking about what have you been spinning lately? I want you to inquire within. So if it's negative, you can begin to just go in there and stop that negative conversation and turn it all around. There's a song I'm fond of by Amy Steinberg, I believe. She says, we're free to turn it all around. Each of us are expressions of the divine to the degree that we are conscious of our connection to this indwelling presence. And as we evolve and live affirmative lives, we're surrendering lesser ideas. We're learning to trust spirit within, and realize that we have this guidance, and it's available to all of us. So invite it in. I quote my father often on this. He said, spirit will not be the uninvited guest. It's there. So invite it in. Just ask questions, and you'll be surprised how many answers come to you. It's always there. It's here, it's within you, it's always available. And we practice here in our teaching knowing that it's here, it's alive within us, and it responds, and we learn to work with it. And as we do, if you become more devoted to the teaching, I would suggest tune in a couple times a week if you can, or watch the replays on Facebook and YouTube. The more you tune in, and the more you take a pause every day, morning or night, or morning and night, or some of you have your iPhones and your smartphones waking you up every half an hour, just to tell yourself how great you are and the power you have. It's just, we live busy lives, so maybe we need to slow down a little because we move fast, and just keep on reminding ourselves that we have the power, we're one with the power, that everything that's happening is God in action. So the more we practice this, the higher degree of self-realization we acquire. This enables us to tap into the workings of the universe, our personal power. As we do this, we're becoming practitioners, we're living with positive expectancy, and we start to experience manifestation after manifestation. Or in religious science language, we start to experience demonstration after demonstration. Ralph Waldo Emerson asserts, the human soul, with its inherent power, can elevate itself, and it will elevate others. It has the freedom to determine whether it will experience heaven or hell in this life. There's no predetermined path or external force that's stopping any of us. The power to determine our experience lies entirely within us. I fondly remember a judge who used to say to me, the final chapter has not been written. So this is a new day, this is a new moment, and it doesn't matter if you've been constructively screwing it up for a long time. The final chapter has not been written. Yesterday ended last night, and you can begin again. And if you've had one of those days from the 12-step programs, they will say it's never too late to start your day over. So Emerson reminds us that goodness is real, love is real. And he said, while evil, the absence of goodness, is merely a false idea, a no thing in and of itself. So there's only God and good. And if you're tripping out and you're thinking, well, all of these people are bad and this is wrong and this is evil, Emerson would say it's just an absence of goodness. It's a false idea, a no thing in and of itself. That's something to think about. So let us today embrace Emerson's teachings for personal freedom, because they guide us there towards having more and more freedom. Let's have greater self-reliance in the realization that we have within us the power to shape our own destinies, and we live in a country where that's possible. By trusting in the creative intelligence within, we embark on a journey of self-discovery, and we open ourselves to the abundant rewards that come from aligning with the workings of the universe. As we learn to choose to perceive and embody goodness, to see God instead, I can see good instead. As we choose to keep doing this, seeing the God, seeing the good, we invite heaven into our lives. And we're creating a reality that reflects our highest aspirations. Emerson, Ernest Holmes, Louise Hay were three very influential figures in my life and in the New Thought movement. Each imparted invaluable wisdom on the power of the individual, and each encouraged us to unite ourselves from the bondage of the past and to pursue freedom. Emerson's essays, although they require quite a bit of work, are worth every bit of the effort. They offer profound insights from one of the greatest minds we've ever known. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, defined the spiritual meaning of freedom, which remains relevant today, in 1937. And he simply said, throughout history, humanity has yearned for freedom from various forms of bondage, whether it be oppression, fear, lack, or uncertainty. We seek liberation from external forces that limit our potential and hinder our sense of security. Louise Hay, a bit later than Emerson, a practitioner of this church, an advocate of New Thought principles, highlighted the importance of self-love and self-knowledge and releasing everything that binds us so we can be what? Free. Many people are not free because they struggle with feeling unworthy, they feel rejected, not good enough, they're alienating themselves from their true essence. New Thought teachings guide us towards breaking free from these self-imposed limitations, and they'll help us embracing our inherent worth and live in divine connection. Of course, as we're doing that, we're becoming free. As we strive for freedom, we must be cautious not to replace one form of bondage with another. That was an Emerson thought. Throughout history, religions and philosophical systems have often traded one set of beliefs for another, and sometimes leading to suppression and intolerance. We must recognize that true freedom is not about dominating others, but about upholding the unity of all beings. In other words, we're one with the one, we're one with everybody. The work we do is always an inside job, a personal journey of awakening to the interconnectedness of all life. True freedom is tied, again, to the concept of unity. Our physical world and the entire cosmos, everything you can think of, operate under unified principles. And as we, who are individual expressions of this unity, are interconnected, the world is interconnected. To hurt another is ultimately to hurt ourselves. We want to strive to live in alignment with divine wisdom, where life and people are not divided against themselves. The evolution of freedom is a gradual process, and many movements that claim to seek liberty often produce new forms of bondage, and we always have to free ourselves from them. Just as an artist works to refine its masterpiece, we too must chip away at the barriers within. We're always working ourselves here. We must chip away at the barriers that hinder our freedom. Any group that's imposing the will of one group over another will never lead to true liberation. Instead, freedom emerges when individuals are free without imposing bondage on anyone else. The true spirit of democracy extends beyond a mere form of government. It's a spiritual idea. It's rooted in the idea of freedom and liberty that allows for flexibility, change, and evolution. So, as we wind down and celebrate this wonderful day of freedom and independence, let us view it as a symbol of, it's a spiritual conception, an embodiment of the divine idea taking shape in human experience. We nurture this idea by cherishing differences. cherish people's other opinions. You don't have to agree with them. You really want them to express themselves. That's one of the great things about this country. Different opinions. You don't have to agree, but be glad that we live in a place where people can disagree. Listening and learning from one another and honoring the life force that exists within all. Namaste to everybody, right? In the light-hearted realm, some of you, my age, may recall Jonathan Living Seagull, who was a character from a Richard Bach book. Through his journey, we learned that the only true law is the law that leads to freedom. That this resonates with the essence of our teachings, reminding us that true freedom lies in aligning ourselves with the universal laws that guide us toward our highest potential. As we conclude this morning, our reflection on freedom, let us carry with us the profound teachings of Emerson, Holmes, and Hay, and the countless other visionaries who've illuminated the path to freedom. May we continue to embrace and celebrate the power of the individual, honor the unity we have with all people, and nurture that flame that's within our own hearts and the hearts of others. And so it is.